So today's topic is about strength and weaknesses. And strength and weaknesses, we're going to come at it from a perspective of what you're putting your effort into. Because when we put in effort, we're putting in energy. And when we're putting in energy, that means it's either depleting us or it's filling us up. Right? Yeah, good. That's why I have her here.
I complete her sentences.
You complete me. Okay, so yeah, what we're going to talk about is about strength and weakness, putting forth effort and energy. And the way my spirit guides kind of brought this information in was from the perspective of when you're not really sure where you need to put your effort, whether it's a strength or a weakness, sometimes the hang up comes from a false belief. So we're going to go into what is a false belief? How did spirit break it down for me? They said that it's basically a preconditioned perspective. And a preconditioned perspective is something that you believe is in your best interest because maybe that's all you know.
That's what you were taught.
Right. Exactly.
It's all you've ever done.
And so it's familiar. Now we're into Marissa Peer. So we'll mention Marissa Peer because she's the one that we watch that really talks about when you've got something familiar that might not actually be in your best interest, that it's probably best to make it unfamiliar, right? And then take something that's unfamiliar
and make it familiar.
Exactly. So if we were to look at it from that perspective of having a false belief, that is something that we think is in our best interest, but we're not sure. And we're just saying, you're going to look at this in your own way. Everybody's going to have something different that they're thinking about and putting forth this information that we're giving you today. But if you believe that something is in your best interest when it's actually not, we're telling you that that could possibly be a false belief of yours. Okay? So let's go into an example. And Spirit brought forth the example of school. Like when we're younger and we go to school, they go that, you're usually conditioned in those early years where they're pinpointing, oh, you're good at math, or you're good at social studies, or you're good at English. But then what happens is the ones that they find out are your weaknesses, they're like, oh, work harder. Or spend more time and effort on. Did you have that happen to you?
In certain instances, yes. Some of the courses I was really good at, they put me into AP classes.
Right.
And the ones that I was not good in, they would say, well, you need to stay and do study hall or get a tutor or come to summer school. And, I remember how much I fought that. Oh, I was difficult. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah. I think of the report card. Then when the report card came in, anything that had an N instead of an S for satisfactory, it was non-satisfactory, I would just get reamed. It's like, you need to spend more time on all this non-satisfactory stuff.
As if it's a reasonable expectation for us to be excellent at everything. What a ridiculous notion.
Exactly. So that's where my brain goes back to all those times where I suffered because I was spending so much time working on the things that I sucked at
and hating it.
Yeah. Instead of being in joy and harmony, because I was focusing on things that I was actually good at. And now we'll dive into this perspective too, because there's always two sides to everything, or maybe even more sides than just two. How do you know when you've got a weakness that actually is worth you spending time and effort on? Right? Here's what Spirit told me is the difference. They said if you have a weakness that causes any type of love, curiosity, or you're admiring it, then it's worth your time and effort. Mm-hmm. If you have a weakness that does not bring you joy at all, let it go.
Drop it. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. We did a live in the 55 Steps to the Light group. Mm-hmm. And I talked a little bit about self-care and how I like to do art, but for many years I was told or felt like I couldn't do art. Mm-hmm. But yet it brought me a lot of joy to look at it. Yeah. And so I pursued it. It was a perceived weakness that actually has turned into a wonderful outlet for me.
Exactly.
It's a little example there.
Exactly. That's
Really,
a perfect
really
one.
easy way. Just look at it and say, am I curious?
Mhm.
Does it fill my heart with love? Does it bring me joy? Well, then perhaps it's not truly a weakness. It's just something you haven't developed yet.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how we grow and we explore, right? Because sometimes we are going to be challenged by our own higher self. Maybe it's angels' guides, depending on what you believe, where you are at in your, your life. Do you believe in that kind of stuff? And if not, your higher self is still going to be your biggest cheerleader back there going, let's go, let's go. Yeah, Tammy says, or an awareness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's you just asking these. Did you see all that snow just fall off that tree back
Yeah,
there?
we're facing a window. There's one back here too, but there's a bunch of snow falling off the roof. So if you see our eyes flick up, that's why.
But it's like when you're actually thinking about these things, it's just you asking yourself this question. Because when you take the time to ask yourself these questions, that's self-care.
It sure is.
That's self-care. That's making a way for you to become the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. And why would you do that? To be happy. To be happy, right?
To be happy. Because you're worth it.